Simon Says is a child's game for 3 or more players where one player takes the role of Simon, and issues instructions to the other players, which should only be followed if prefaced with the phrase Simon says. For example, Simon says, "Jump in the air." Players are eliminated from the game by either following instructions that are not immediately preceded by the phrase, or by failing to follow an instruction which does include the phrase Simon says. It is the ability to distinguish between valid and invalid commands, rather than physical ability, that usually matters in the game. In most cases, the action just needs to be attempted. The object for the player acting as Simon is to get all the other players out as quickly as possible. The winner of the game is usually the last player who has successfully followed all of the given commands. Occasionally, however, 2 or more of the last players may all be eliminated by following a command without Simon Says, thus resulting in Simon winning the game. The game is well embedded in popular culture, with numerous references in films, music and literature. History. The tradition behind the use of Simon as the controller of the game may trace back to the year 1264, when at the Battle of Lewes, Simon de Montfort captured King Henry III and his son, the future King Edward I. For the next year, any order Henry III gave could have been countermanded by de Montfort, until his defeat at the Battle of Evesham. It is also possible that the name has no such meaning, and Simon derives simply from the alliterative effect. This game has translated across multiple cultures from seemingly common roots, and some international versions also use the name Simon, such as Arabic, for example, O-O-Mo-O plus or minus O-O-Mo to the first U-U Florin O-U, or Euro-O-Mo-O-Mu-O to the first U-U-A, and O-Q-Du-U-O-Mu-S-U-U, Basque, Buruak-Dio, or Barazadiak-Dio, or Anak-Dio, Bengali, AA section AA section AA section A, Cantonese, Eurawa, Danish, Simon Siger, Dutch, Commando, or Jancht. In Flemish parts of Belgium, Finnish, Kapteini Currency Ski, French, Jacques dit, or Jean dit in Quay copyright Beck, German, Commando Pimple, Hebrew, Aish, Ka, or Odid says respectively. Each of the phrases is typically used by different age groups, and sometimes it is even influenced by context. Hungarian, Simon Munja, Icelandic, Zaman Siga, Irish, Dura Gradeia, Italian, Il Ballo di Simone, Japanese, E to the first EAA, a registered trademark, a 1/2 a currency, Korean, IUE degree Euro E1/4 IA Euro, Norwegian, Kunjan Befala, Polish, Simon Marcubwi, Portuguese, Ore Manda, Oro Mestamando in Brazilian Portuguese, Romanian, Ra Florens van Spoon, Spanish, Sima Cube den Dice, Swedish, Far Paragraph John, Turkish, Yakup Turkey. A version also exists in India and Hungary where an analogy to what can fly and what cannot is emphasized instead of Simon saying or not, that is, Chidia ud, which translates to bird fly. The term bird can then be replaced with a thing that cannot fly. This game is usually played more with gestures than actual jumping. In a Swedish version, Gar paragraph AC, Gar paragraph Azaryen, the leader says either do this, or do thus while performing an action. For failing to follow the correct command, do this, or following the wrong command, do thus, a child must sit down until a new leader is chosen. Gameplay. A command starting with Simon Says means the players must obey that command. A command without the beginning Simon Says means do not do this action. Anyone who breaks one of these 2 rules is eliminated from the remainder of the game. Often, anyone who speaks is also eliminated. There can be very complex and difficult command chains, such as Simon Says, arms up. Simon Says, arms down. Arms up. Anyone ending with their arms up is eliminated, because you cannot obey a command that doesn't begin with Simon Says. In New Zealand, a variation on the instruction phrases is used. Simon Says is said once at the start of a series of instructions, and an action along with the phrase do this must be obeyed, while an action with the phrase do that must not be obeyed. Obeying a do that command or not obeying a do this command will eliminate a player. It is considered cheating to give impossible commands or phrase the commands in such a way that the other player has no option but to go out. However, At least in some versions, it is allowed for Simon to eliminate players by asking them to do something seemingly unrelated to the game. Cultural references. Various musical artists have produced songs with the title Simon Says, including the 1910 Fruit Gum Company, Pharoah Monch, Clawfinger, Drain Sth, Lally, Jimi Hendrix, Clyde McKnight. The phrase has been used multiple times as a plot device in films and television dramas including Die Hard with a Vengeance, Police Academy, Demolition Man and the TV series Underdog, as well as being played in television game shows including 1970s show Superstars and Battle of the Network reality stars. The phrase occurs twice in Thelma and Louise for comic effect. Simon says everybody lay down on the floor. First, the outlaw on the run character JD tells how he usually sets off to do an armed robbery. Later on we find out in the only flashback scene of the movie that Thelma uses exactly the same phrase when robbing a store. Simple Simon is a character in Shrek 2. In an episode of the Cartoon Network show Courage the Cowardly Dog, the title character gives commands to the other eggplants after saying the great eggplant says. The Peanuts special It's Flaz Beagle, Charlie Brown includes a song dance number called Lucy Says, where Lucy plays the role of Simon, but uses Lucy Says instead of Simon Says. A stunt played on the game show Funhouse also played Simon Says, but was changed to Tiny Says to match the name of the show's announcer giving the commands. The electronic game Simon is named for Simon Says. Jim Henson's Pajanimals has the Pajanimals play a similar game called Cowbella Says. Similar to the Peanuts example above, Cowbella, one of the Pajanimals, plays the role of Simon and uses Cowbella Says instead of Simon Says. Before they play, there is a short song that has the lyrics of Cowbella says, you must do what Cowbella says. And if she doesn't say it Cowbella says, you must not do what Cowbella says. Mickey Muscasize, a short in Disney Junior has a game called Mickey Says. Mickey plays the role of Simon. Once in the middle of the game, Goofy and Minnie did what Mickey said when he did not say Mickey Says. In Let's Go Pocoyo, there is a game in some episodes called Fred Says. This is a simple game. Fred plays the role of Simon, however, the narrator always says Fred says in each phrase. At the end, the narrator says Fred says, that's all. References. Other references: Arnold, The World Book of Children's Games, World Publishing Colorado, 1972, ISBN 0-529-00778-9. Bancroft, Jesse H., Games for the Playground, Home, School and Gymnasium, The Macmillan, Colorado, 1914. Forster, Sally, Simon Says. Let's Play, Dutton Children's Books, 1990, ISBN 0-525-65019-9. Grunfeld, Frederick 5, Games of the World, How to Make Them, How to Play Them, How They Came to Be, Holt, Reinhardt and Winston, 1975, ISBN 0-03-015261-5.